Technology has advanced so quickly that some analysts estimate that the total body of medical knowledge in the world is doubling now every 3 to 4 months. And Bobby and James, you're both on the forefront of this. Bobby, at Orchard, you're developing gene therapies to cure rare diseases. And James, with machine learning, you're discovering new protein therapeutics. So James, let me start with you. Protein therapeutics, how do they work?
Proteins are these sort of the nanoscale actuators of life. So you have about 25,000 of those encoded in your genome, and they enable your body to do stuff. In fact, they enable all living organisms to do stuff. But the number of potential proteins that could exist is effectively infinite. So if the number of proteins that could exist are infinite, this means that we can look at disease in a slightly different way. It means that for any given disease, there's probably a protein therapeutic that can be used to treat it. And at LabGenius, we're interested in ways in which we can systematically search through that infinite set of potential proteins to find ones that can have important therapeutic effects. And we use machine learning in order to do that.
And Bobby, I have to say I'm very excited about Orchard because I'm coming back to you in 20 years to make me look like I do today with gene therapy. So gene therapy is obviously a very broad area. How is Orchard applying it?
When we think about medicines, we often think about medicines as compounds or chemicals or proteins. But biomedical research over the years has told us that certain diseases are as a result of certain genes being defective or not working. And what we're doing at Orchard is to try and replace the missing gene. So in a disease where there is a single gene that is defective, we are taking out the cells that are not working and we're putting back a working copy of the gene and giving it back to patients. And in some of the diseases that we've treated, we've seen this effect last for many, many years in these patients, and they have been potentially cured of their disease through this one-off gene therapy.
You have an example of someone who's been with you for 19 years and still benefiting from the initial treatment 19 years ago.
That boy had a very severe immune disorder where he couldn't fight any infections. We took out his bone marrow cells. We introduced a working copy of the gene into his cells, gave them back to him, and essentially rebuilt his immune system. And that boy is now, well, he's a young man now of 20 years of age, going to college, and that once-off therapy has corrected his immune system over that time.
There's a pretty big focus on what's going to be the cost of these future treatments and how are they going to benefit patients in the long term, better health outcomes, but obviously at a lower cost. Well, James, how do you see your firm fitting into that picture?
The cost of discovering these molecules and taking them to market is absolutely huge. It's something like on the order of 12 years in time and in excess of a couple of billion is the all-in cost for the industry to get these molecules across. The two ways in which technology can help you reduce the cost of that discovery process is one, increasing the probability that you'll actually be able to find a molecule that you believe works. And secondly, increasing the probability that that molecule will then get through that process of clinical trials successfully. So if we can build technology into that discovery process, it gives us the ability to pull down that cost.
When you think about the value to the patient and to the family, you're essentially taking a child who may die over the next few years and giving them potentially a normal lifespan. You think of the family who are having to look after these children 24/7, parents having to give up their jobs, the kind of other costs associated with all of that, as well as the cost of the healthcare system of looking after these children. Currently, we have a model whereby we give therapies week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out for the lifetime of an individual, and it doesn't sometimes correct that individual's disease. So there's a huge cost associated with that. And now we're going to go to a potentially once-off administration. And so I think there's enormous value as a result of these types of medicines.